The neon lights of the settlement flickered unevenly, casting long shadows across the cracked metal floors, and the crying began again. It wasn't a normal infant cry, not the soft, intermittent kind that promised eventual sleep. This was a shrill, persistent wail, echoing down the corridors like a tiny alarm system no one had authorized. The alien woman pressed her long-fingered hands to her temples, her ears twitching as if they had minds of their own, and muttered, "If I survive this, I'm installing earplugs in the next generation." She swayed slightly, rocking the baby in her arms, but the infant only increased the decibel of its protest, fists flailing against her chest. She tried humming an old lullaby, one she had learned in a long-forgotten temple on the other side of the galaxy, but even that failed to pierce the wail. "Maybe it's the vacuum seal," she whispered to herself, glancing at the cracked dome overhead. Dust floated lazily in the artificial sunlight that never quite reached the floor. She pinched the bridge of her nose. "I swear if tears could power a ship, you'd have launched us all by now." She muttered this, not to scold, but to feel that human-like humor that sometimes eased the ache of isolation. Her reflection in the polished metal wall caught her off guard. A woman who looked human enough to pass anywhere, except for the elongated ears that twitched with every sound. Her hair, silver under the flickering lights, fell over her shoulders, and her eyes, large and reflective, glimmered with exhaustion and exasperation. The baby's wail intensified, and she set it down gently in the small cot, stepping back as the infant flailed its tiny limbs. "Really, right now, do you plan on keeping me awake until the next orbit?" She half-joked to the empty room, but the humor didn't settle the tension in her chest. She walked toward the kitchenette, rubbing her ears. The settlement was quiet except for the echoes of the baby, punctuated by the occasional groan of metal shifting, a reminder that this was not just a home. It was a battered shell clinging to the planet's surface. From somewhere down the corridor came a shuffle, hesitant at first, and then the sound of boots clicking against metal. She froze, her ears twitching again. A human soldier, helmet scuffed and uniform layered in dust from the outer patrol, appeared in the doorway. I heard noise." His voice was tentative, almost apologetic, though the edges of it carried the weight of someone trained to command a room. "Yes," she said flatly, a humorless smile tugging at her lips. "Noise. Noise that could rupture your auditory receptors and ruin your day. You're lucky it's only the baby." She gestured vaguely at the cot. The soldier raised an eyebrow, peering over the rim of his helmet, and took a cautious step forward. "You want me to help?" he asked, as if stepping closer might set off some alien warning system. "I want you to leave," she said immediately, then sighed and added, "but if you can stop that racket without exploding the nursery, I won't complain." The soldier laughed, a low, awkward sound, and took the challenge with a hesitant shrug. He leaned over the cot, eyes wide, and the baby, as if sensing a change in the energy, paused mid-wail to stare at him with enormous, wet eyes. "Okay," he muttered to himself. "Let's see if ancient lullabies are superior to modern warfare." Then, leaning in, he began to hum. His voice was deep, steady, almost musical in its monotone, and the alien woman froze. The sound, alien yet familiar in its cadence, cut through the cacophony of the baby's cries like a soft graviton beam through thick plasma. The infant blinked, then hiccuped, then slowly, miraculously, calmed. The woman stared at him, her mouth half open in disbelief. You stopped it," she said, her voice incredulous. The soldier gave a sheepish shrug, hands raised as if in surrender. "I didn't do anything. Maybe it just liked me." "Babies are weird." Her ears twitched in amusement. "Babies are weird, you're right, but you, human or not, you're a miracle in a uniform." She took a deep breath, finally feeling the tension in her shoulders ease just enough to laugh. "I should warn you, though, this is a short-term victory. The little one is like a black hole. You think you've contained it, and then it finds another way to scream." He leaned back, grinning, and rubbed the back of his neck. "I'll take my chances. Worst-case scenario, I survive a day with a baby and still get my commendation." She snorted at the absurdity, but the humor lingered in the room like a rare chemical in the air of the settlement. For the first time in countless nights, the alien woman felt a spark of hope, fragile, small, and tinged with laughter, but hope nonetheless. In the flickering lights and endless echoes, a human soldier and an alien mother began to discover a rhythm that no war, no ruin could entirely silence. The baby, now dozing in the cot with the faintest whimpers, seemed to acknowledge the change in the room. Its tiny hands reached for the soldier instinctively, and he froze, unsure, then smiled awkwardly. "Okay, okay, that's adorable," he muttered. She laughed again, longer this time, a sound that made her ears twitch and her heart feel lighter. Outside, the settlement hummed under the faint glow of distant stars, indifferent to the small miracles inside. Yet within the walls, a world was shifting, a fragile bond forming, and somewhere in the quiet hum of machines and neon lights, the first lullaby of a new beginning had been sung. The next morning, the alien woman awoke to a series of soft coos rather than the usual shrill cries. Her long ears twitched in disbelief as she peeked toward the cot, expecting a scene of catastrophic fatigue. Instead, the baby lay swaddled, blinking up at the ceiling panels with a fascination that was almost contagious. The human soldier was already there, perched awkwardly on a crate repurposed as a chair, humming quietly to himself while gently rocking the infant. "Good morning," she said, voice low and suspiciously cheerful, like she was testing whether the universe had played a cruel trick. He glanced up, one brow raised, and gave a small, crooked grin. "Morning," he said. "Apparently I'm officially a baby whisperer. Who knew?" The alien woman folded her arms, one long ear flicking in mock exasperation. "Congratulations. Do they give medals for surviving the first night without losing your sanity?" She shook her head, a laugh slipping through. "Because if they do, you deserve one." He shrugged, a little embarrassed. "No medals yet, but there's always next century. I'll aim for a commendation in the meantime." He offered the infant a small, shiny trinket, a human toy adapted with alien materials. The baby reached out, grabbing it with an instinctive curiosity that made the soldier chuckle. "I call this the distraction device," he said. "You see, it's highly effective. Or it will be, once I figure out which end does what." She blinked at him. "You're going to explain the function of a baby toy like it's an interstellar weapon manual." She couldn't help but smile. His humor, clumsy and human, was strangely comforting. He leaned closer to show her the mechanism, a small orb that glowed when touched, pulsing with faint gravitational vibrations. "It's supposed to mimic the baby's natural resonances," he explained, tapping the orb gently. "Or it just looks pretty. Who knows? Science." The baby giggled, a rare, high-pitched sound that echoed faintly against the metal walls. The alien woman's heart fluttered. She hadn't heard such a sound in what felt like cycles. "Well," she said, letting a laugh slip past her lips, "either that toy works or I'm witnessing a miracle, and I don't know which is more terrifying." He chuckled and leaned back, satisfied with the temporary peace. "Honestly, I think it's a combo, miracle and toy. Babies are weirdly logical that way." She watched him, a sudden curiosity sparking through her exhaustion. "You've done this before, I mean with human infants." He shook his head, expression sheepish. "Not exactly. I've survived a few drills with holographic dummies. Same principle, though, crying, flailing, chaos. This one's just more alive." He gestured to the baby, who now attempted to roll toward him, small hands reaching for his uniform. "Seriously, though, how do you do it? Keep going when the universe is, well, loud." She paused, the question heavier than she expected. "Experience," she said finally. "Desperation. A healthy dose of sarcasm to keep from screaming myself. And hope. That's all. Always hope that something, anything, might work." Her gaze flicked to the ceiling panels, where faint stars twinkled through transparent plating. "Even if the stars themselves seem indifferent." The soldier nodded, thoughtfully rocking the baby gently. "Yeah, I get that." Stars are silent, judgmental, and oddly beautiful, kinda like some people I know. He winked at her, a gesture so awkward it made her long ears twitch in amusement. Don't get used to compliments, though. I'm terrible at them. They spent the morning in an odd, gentle rhythm. He experimented with other devices. A floating sphere that hummed and bounced in low gravity, a tiny drone shaped like a starship, buzzing around with playful persistence. Each attempt made the baby laugh or squeak, the room filling with the rare sound of joy that was not punctuated by panic. She found herself laughing along, her tension easing as she observed the soldier's antics, clumsy gestures, exaggerated facial expressions, and a willingness to appear ridiculous, all in service of a small life. "You know," she said between laughter, "you might actually have a career in whatever this is. Baby diplomacy, interspecies peace through lullabies and toys." He tilted his head. I could see it. First the universe, then tiny humans and aliens. I'd make a decent ambassador. He leaned over to fix a minor malfunction in the drone, the baby batting at his helmet. See, crisis averted. Hours passed in this gentle chaos, and the alien woman felt something she hadn't felt in cycles, a sense of shared purpose. The settlement, with its cracked floors and flickering lights, seemed less like a tomb and more like a stage where two unlikely allies performed a small but significant act of care. They joked, they laughed, they experimented, and through it all, the baby's cries became rarer, replaced by coos and giggles that stitched the room together with unexpected warmth. By the time the dim artificial sun started its slow descent, casting elongated shadows across the floor, the alien woman realized she was watching more than just the baby. She was watching a bridge form between two worlds. The soldier, human, awkward, and entirely out of place, had stepped into her life in a way that made the ruined settlement feel like a home again. He looked at her, wiping a bit of sweat from his brow after a particularly energetic play session. "So, dinner, or do we risk another symphony from the little one?" She laughed, a genuine, unguarded sound. "Dinner first. If the baby performs again, it'll be a duet." They shared a quiet smile, a rare moment of peace in a galaxy that seemed determined to test their patience at every turn. Outside, the hum of machinery and the distant stars waited as usual, indifferent yet endlessly watchful, while inside, the fragile beginnings of connection, the kind that could outlast storms, wars, and restless nights, were quietly taking root. The morning air in the settlement smelled faintly of ozone and recycled metal, a scent that usually set her teeth on edge. Today, though, the alien woman didn't mind it. She glanced at the cot where her baby, now wide-eyed and giggling, tugged at the edges of a floating, luminescent cube the soldier had brought. He hovered nearby, tinkering with a strange device that buzzed intermittently and glowed with soft pulses of light. "You know," she said, her long ears flicking with amusement, "I was worried yesterday that you'd break something or, worse, scare the baby into a galactic tantrum." He looked up, hands greasy from mechanical fiddling, a sheepish grin spreading across his face. "It's okay, I like to live dangerously. I mean, who needs normal baby toys when you can have gravity-manipulated cubes? It's science, and fun, and slightly terrifying." He handed the cube to the baby, who promptly batted it into the air. The cube spun slowly, pulsing with an alien light, then hovered steadily in front of them as if obeying some unspoken command. The woman's eyes widened. "It actually works. You did something right, human." He leaned, and for the first time in a long while, the settlement didn't feel like a ruin. It felt like a small, strange corner of the universe where laughter, human ingenuity, and alien resilience could coexist. Outside, distant stars blinked through the cracked dome, silent witnesses to a fragile, burgeoning harmony that was entirely unexpected and entirely alive. The morning air smelled faintly of burnt circuits, a reminder that the settlement's energy grid was as unpredictable as the galaxy itself. The alien woman rubbed her temples, trying to ignore the faint hum of malfunctioning machinery as her baby cooed contentedly in the cot. That peace, however, was short-lived. From the distant perimeter of the settlement came a rhythmic clatter, followed by low, uneven thuds. She froze, her long ears twitching involuntarily. The soldier appeared at her side, his expression caught between curiosity and exasperation. "Let me guess," he muttered, scanning the horizon through the settlement's cracked viewport. "It's either rogue scavengers, hyper-intelligent rodents, or alien tumbleweeds." "Try scavengers," she replied flatly, though a hint of humor undercut her fear. "They have a taste for shiny metal, and you know how attractive a crashed hover drone can be." He grinned, tugging his helmet into place. "Ah, yes. Nothing says welcome to our neighborhood like marauders and pilfered machinery. Sounds like a standard Tuesday." He glanced at the baby, now perched in her arms with a suspiciously amused look. "Don't worry. I'm way better at protecting kids than at deciphering your alien lullabies. That skill comes in handy for this part." The first scavenger, a lanky humanoid with spindly mechanical appendages, stumbled into view, followed by a motley group wielding improvised weapons that rattled and sparked in the thin atmosphere. The alien woman's eyes narrowed, but instead of panic, she allowed herself a small smirk. "This is your stage, human. Show me what babysitters do when the universe knocks." He grinned mock-heroic and produced a small, humming device from his belt. "Step 1, intimidation. Step 2, hilarious overcomplication. Step 3, pray the baby doesn't interpret me as part of the threat." He activated the device, and a low-frequency pulse radiated outward, sending the scavengers into momentary confusion. Some stumbled backward, others froze, and one tripped spectacularly over a loose cable, landing with a spark and a puff of smoke. The alien woman laughed, long and unguarded. "You're ridiculous," she said, her ears twitching. "Absolutely ridiculous, and yet effective." The soldier gave a theatrical bow. Thank you. I've been training for this my whole life." "Well, technically, I trained for battle drills, not babysitter defense, but details." The baby cooed, reaching for a floating cube that had been hovering nearby since morning. The soldier caught it deftly, juggling the object while keeping a careful eye on the intruders. "Look, multitasking, a display of skill and style, and also potential disaster if I drop it." One of the scavengers tried to advance, swinging a jagged piece of metal, but the soldier tapped a button on his wrist device, projecting a thin, transparent barrier. The scavenger slammed against it with a surprised yelp. The woman couldn't help but laugh. "You're like a cosmic babysitter with a force field. Where did they teach you this?" "Step 1, he said, gesturing with one hand while keeping the other on the barrier controls. "Never underestimate the power of subtle theater. Step 2, always have improvised gadgets. Step 3, make sure the baby thinks you're awesome. Step 4, oh right, survive." The scavengers regrouped, more cautious now, circling the settlement's perimeter. The soldier crouched, examining the terrain. "Okay, we need a diversion. Something flashy, something loud, something baby-proof." He rummaged through a crate of old experimental devices and emerged with a small orb that emitted a playful, chaotic light show. He tossed it toward the intruders. The orb bounced erratically, flashing neon colors, emitting squeaky bursts that were somehow both alarming and hilarious. The scavengers flailed, some tripping over each other, others retreating in bewildered panic. The alien woman's ears twitched, her laughter mingling with the baby's gurgles. "This is absurd," she said, "but I've never seen combat handled like this." "Absurdity," he said proudly, "is the secret weapon no one expects. Besides, who wants to face a grinning human armed with this?" He pointed at the orb, which pulsed dramatically, as if winking at their opponents. The intruders, thoroughly humiliated and outmaneuvered by flashing lights and inexplicable human bravado, finally retreated. The settlement fell silent again, save for the soft hum of repaired machinery and the occasional coo from the cot. The soldier leaned against the wall, catching his breath. "Well, that went better than expected. Mostly." He rubbed the back of his neck, watching the baby stretch and yawn. Though I think the baby thinks I'm a superhero now, or a very strange alien. Either way, reputation secured. She shook her head, a small, incredulous smile on her lips. You have a remarkable talent for chaos management and babysitting. Somehow you're simultaneously terrifying and wonderful. He grinned. I'll take it. Babysitter, chaos manager, part-time miracle worker, full-time human. The baby gurgled in agreement, or maybe just in acknowledgement of the floating cube that hovered between them. The woman's long ears twitched as she laughed again, feeling a lightness she hadn't known in cycles. In the aftermath of danger, humor had become their shield, and ingenuity their ally. Outside, distant stars blinked silently against the void, indifferent observers of the small, victorious world inside the settlement. Inside, laughter, ingenuity, and the tiny heartbeat of a baby stitched together a fragile, improbable harmony. The soldier picked up the baby, balancing the small life carefully against his chest. Okay, so, same time tomorrow, or do you think the universe will rest for a change? She shook her head, smiling, ears twitching. The universe doesn't rest, but we might as well make it laugh while it tries. And in that strange, unpolished settlement, two unlikely allies, human and alien, found a rhythm between humor, danger, and care. A rhythm strong enough to make even the stars pause for a moment. The morning light crept lazily through the cracked dome, scattering faint beams across the settlement's metal floors. The baby stirred, yawning and stretching tiny limbs, then gurgled happily as if announcing a new day of small victories. The alien woman smiled, her long ears twitching with amusement. Across the room, the soldier was already fiddling with a makeshift toy, half-hover drone, half-musical device, that buzzed softly and spun erratically above the cot. Morning, he said cheerfully, glancing at her. Looks like the galaxy survived another night without mass destruction. Progress. She raised an eyebrow, amused. And the baby? Sleeping, he said, pretending to pat his chest proudly. Mostly. I'd like to claim heroism, but let's be honest, mostly luck. The woman laughed. You've changed luck into a full-time career, haven't you? He grinned, then paused as the baby reached for the spinning toy, squealing with delight. Okay, maybe some skill is involved, he admitted, snatching it deftly before it could wobble too close to the edge of the cot. For a moment, the room settled into an easy rhythm, giggling baby, hovering toys, human and alien exchanging quiet jokes and smiles. The air, once thick with tension and fatigue, now carried a strange sense of balance. Later, she found herself showing him an old lullaby from her homeworld, the melody soft and flowing with alien syllables that twisted and turned in ways Earth music could not. He attempted to mimic it, his voice awkward but earnest, warbling through the alien sounds. The baby cooed in delight, arms waving toward him, and she couldn't help but laugh. You're terrible, she said, ears twitching in amusement. Absolutely horrible, and yet somehow effective. I'll take that, he said, mock proud. Terrible but effective could be a slogan for my life. The day unfolded gently, the soldier helping her with daily tasks, repairing a flickering energy conduit, recalibrating a gravity field that kept the settlement's floating furniture stable, and even teaching her baby how to interact with a small, hovering hollow projection of the stars. The infant batted at the tiny points of light, fascinated by the miniature galaxy spinning above the cot, and giggled at every miscalculated nudge from the soldier. As evening approached, a distant rumble reminded them that the galaxy outside was still chaotic. She glanced toward the perimeter, expecting trouble, but found only quiet. The small victories of yesterday and today had not gone unnoticed. Scavengers had moved on, perhaps intimidated by the strange human-alien duo who refused to be frightened. The alien woman felt a strange warmth settle in her